Hello everyone and welcome back to the Plutonium Show. A professional separation. Remember when Meghan and Harry were all about that life back in 2024? When they were so desperate to see what strand of spaghetti was gonna stick on the wall. And they did the unthinkable and separated the salt and the pepper. Or the conjoined palm trees. Does anyone remember that from the Cut article? Well, like every other failed strategy of theirs, it appears that this separation thing isn't exactly working out too well for them, particularly for Meghan, who we all know has had a pretty nasty year, or start of the year, we're just at the beginning, this 2025, in the wake of the Vanity Fair article, the Hollywood Reporter, the disaster tourism situation, which she doubled down on with that manic Instagram reel that we talked about last video. But basically, as a couple, or even separately, they are as unpopular as ever. And so now, 4 months after deciding their separate professional lives, they're back as a couple again. And just in time for Invictus too. Quelle surprise, as the French say. That separation thing, apparently it's so 2024, because according to their PR agent, Ashley Hansen, it's time to reunite again. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle make huge Invictus Games decision as they look to turn the tide. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have seemingly ditched their professional separation after changing PR firm. Now this confuses me because I do know that they've been with Ashley, who was working for them, if you remember, for Archewell, forever at this point. So I don't know at what point they changed over, but apparently it's her strategy. And there will now be a renewed focus on the Sussexes as a couple, as a brand, and showcasing them as a couple and family. The Sussexes have decided to step back a little and let Ashley take the reins of their PR plan. Doubt it. Doubt it. Meghan Markle couldn't step back and let someone else take control. If her life depended on it, but that might be a bit too extreme. But according to the source, the Sussexes hope the move will help them turn the tide after a tough few weeks. Now, the title of this article would have you believe it's some huge, unprecedented move ahead of the Invictus Games, which obviously have now already started and we will be covering for the rest of this episode. But when have Harry and Meghan ever not shown up to the Invictus Games together? When has Meghan ever foregone an opportunity to take over what was meant to be an event focusing on veterans, wounded veterans, to make it her Meghan Markle fashion show? It's not like we ever got a break from her before. In fact, it was only last Invictus Games, a year and a half ago now, that she marched with veterans in short shorts and flip-flops. They flew together into Vancouver on a private jet, of course, we can expect no less. And once they landed, they were driven in a 3-car convoy, a 3 SUV convoy, which I suppose is a bit of an improvement from 7 SUVs in the past, on their way to possibly, I read, one of the most expensive hotels in all of Canada, the Fairmont Pacific Rim Hotel, costing upwards of £5,000 a night, with their expenses presumably paid by either Invictus or the Canadian government. It's unclear. Either way, they ain't paying out of their own pockets, that's for sure. It wouldn't be the Invictus Games without an opening speech, an impromptu, she always makes sure to point that out, unplanned, unrehearsed opening speech given by Meghan Markle herself. Because we all have no idea who Prince Harry is, year in and year out, and we need the likes of her to introduce him every single year.
Not planning on speaking tonight, and we just arrived, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I touched Canadian soil and I went, oh, it feels like home.
many homes you got? I swear to God, this woman just, what did I say in that video of mine, the husk? She literally has no self. There is no home. It's all a performance. When she went to Malta in 2015, I remember reading an extract from Elle magazine, I think, or maybe it was on her own Instagram account. And she said, I landed there and suddenly everyone looked like me and I felt like I was at home. We all know, of course, now, spoiler alert, if you don't, she doesn't have a drop of Maltese blood in her body. Then, of course, there's the whole Nigeria thing. My country. Remember that little clip, that cringe clip?
My country.
And now this. Vancouver's her home. She lived in Toronto, by the way, for 7 years, not Vancouver. And might be nitpicky here. My main point is, this is all performative. Nothing is ever genuine that comes out of her mouth, because I think we can all relate to that one place feeling like home. Maybe the place you grew up in. Maybe the place you still live in because that's where you grew up, or the place that you've spent the last number of years in. But this country, Canada, which she unceremoniously ditched to go to LA 5 years ago now, right as COVID hit, I'm pretty sure Canadians ain't buying it.
You will see him throughout this week. You will see him at the games. He'll be going down that, what is that? Is it the luge? Oh my gosh, you guys, the thing that I will never do. My husband will probably do 3 times because he wants to be there with you. He is in it with you.
It's so funny to me that she inadvertently says, I'm not going to be involved in any of this. I don't even know why I'm here. My husband's the one who's going to be involved and taking part, and he'll be right there with you. My husband, right? Not Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, her possession. But does she not realize that she just said what we've all been saying for years? Why are you there? I mean, as a supporting act, as a supportive wife, absolutely, sure. Who are we to comment on that or have issues with that? But that's entirely different from shoving your face down our throats and getting up on stage at every single opportunity and pretending you're at some awards show. But I think she missed the memo.
You are his family, just as we are his family.
Is she trolling? I've lost count of the number of times I've asked that question out loud. Is Meghan Markle a troll? If you ask me, yes, she is. She knows exactly what she's doing and nothing is an accident or a coincidence. But family? This woman dare use that word again and again and again as though she knows what it means. She has no concept of family. The only family she cares about is me, myself, and I. The trio of Meghans. And she talks about the children. I know this is going to come up in the comments. I will say what I think about the whole where are the kids situation. On the one hand, I feel bad that their kids are seemingly always locked away at home with the nannies. They're still so young. School is not as rigid, the scheduling. And, when you're a kid, it's not like you're going to flunk class if you miss a few days here and there, especially if you're in kindergarten. I don't even think the girl is in school yet. So on the one hand, I go, why didn't you just bring them? It's a family event. In fact, I'm going to get to this later, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's something about other people's children. So why not bring them? But on the other hand, I understand that they are the children of incredibly infamous parents. And personally, I don't have kids. If I did, I would never put them on camera. Just because I'm on camera and just because other people put their kids on camera doesn't mean I'm going to. So my stance is, if they don't want to put their kids in the public eye, then so be it. As long as that is actually their intention and they're not just hogging the kids to later merch, to capitalize on them, to use all the secrecy so that, it builds up interest. And later they're just going to start getting them putting them in our faces everywhere just to monetize them. That would be absolutely disgusting. And I know a lot of you think that that's exactly what they're planning to do, at least Meghan. I'm not too sure about Harry. He's just going along for the ride, clearly. But Until that is proven to be the case, I am not going to criticize their decision to not bring the kids in public. I suppose they could have brought them to be around, but incognito is really unrealistic, isn't it? So that's where I stand on the kids. And yes, I understand a lot of you don't even think they exist. I acknowledge your beliefs. I just don't share them. If I haven't changed my mind, the title of this podcast by the time it's up will be something along the lines of The Meghan Markle Show is on the decline. It's two different facets. Let's tackle the Meghan Markle Show first. Nothing new. As I mentioned in the introduction, the Invictus Games have very quickly actually deteriorated since 2017 from what they once were. Huge events attracting the likes of world leaders, and it focused on the veterans. Ever since Meghan Markle first set a toe into this event in 2017, it very quickly became the Meghan Markle fashion show. And I'm using air quotations because I don't think any of us could call what she wears fashion. And get a load of this. The Daily Fail, as I like to call them when they get on my nerves, has put her up as a cover story. And I don't know how much her PR has paid for this exposure, but it literally says unabashedly, The Meghan Show. Meghan Markle puts on loved up display with Prince Harry at the Invictus Games opening ceremony. And yes, there are videos of this performance of hers. It is so transparently a performance. If you think for 1 second that this headline was manufactured by the Daily Mail themselves without some egging on and some persuasion in the form of moolah from Meghan Markle's camp, then, I've got, what do people say? I have a bridge to sell you. It's no longer just commentary from us anymore. It's no longer criticism. She takes criticism and then slaps it in all of our faces by doubling down and going, yes, it is the Meghan Markle show. Yes, I did go to destroyed homes or locations of, what were once homes. And I did tour them with my husband. You're all complaining about it. And I'm going to proudly confirm whatever it is that you're complaining about. Because Meghan is a provocateur. It's what she lives for. She pretends she's a victim, but she stirs up negative reactions on purpose. It feeds her soul, if she even has one. It gives her life. And it's so disgusting how, I suppose it's tabloid trash, right? The Daily Fail would even do this. The Meghan Show, sure, ignore all the veterans, the wounded veterans, disabled humans who are doing incredible things with their bodies right now and who have come all this way from all corners of the world to participate at their own expense. What an insult to these veterans who, even if they were not wounded physically or had mental repercussions from their service, I would know I'm not wounded in any physical way, but mentally, service can take its toll on you. And to have that diminished like this so openly, so flagrantly, it makes me beyond sick. And that's why I keep covering Meghan and Harry. I do get the odd comment, maybe if you stop talking about them, they'll go away. Really? Because they're waiting for little old me, little old nobody all the way in Pluto to stop talking about them. Oh, then they'll go away. They're only talking because little YouTubers are talking about them. We're not just talking about them. We're exposing them. And it's worked. Remember all those years in the early days when the mainstream media was 100% gung-ho behind them and we were the minority? It's always how my topics start off on YouTube. We're always, the minority to begin with. And then the world catches on. And why did they catch on? Because of the minority, because we spoke up. And this is me standing up for fellow veterans. This makes me legitimately angry. It's one thing for her to do it, but I really think it's another for the mainstream media or tabloid trash even, because this is beneath tabloid trash, to go along with it. Of course, she's had her usual 3 different outfits a day pattern. No matter how many times we, as the world, have criticized that, would it really kill you, Meghan, to show up wearing an Invictus cap with a ponytail, Invictus polo, and some jeans? Would it really kill you to truly show that you are supporting your husband's initiative, as you like to call it? He founded it, right? If your husband founded it, what kind of respect are you showing to him and what he cares about by hijacking his hard work and diminishing it, making a joke out of it, ridiculing it? And the fact that Harry lets her year in and year out. He's not a man, let alone a veteran, as he likes to call himself. Come on, Harry, we all know your service was a joke. I've talked at length about his fantasy version of the military because, again, I would know. I lived through it. I served through blood, sweat, and tears. And Harry's version is some parallel unicorn universe. In fact, on the topic of how much Invictus means about Harry, I came across this article a while back and I saved it for a rainy day. No, I saved it because I knew Invictus was going to start in a few weeks, and here we are. Apparently, the outgoing Invictus Games CEO, Dominic Reed, has highlighted Prince Harry's deep commitment to the foundation and its mission to support wounded veterans. It is very important to him as a soldier. It's very important to him as a person, Reed told People magazine, of course. If it was really important to him, both as a soldier, yes, I'm going to use air quotations there too, because, sorry, he ain't no real soldier. And as a person, would he let his wife completely take away from everything Invictus Games stands for? Would he let his wife make a mockery out of the games year in and year out, with every year getting worse and worse and worse? I mean, I don't know if we can ever top that marching stunt she pulled last time, 2023. I don't know. We'll see. It's Meghan Markle, right? No bar is too low for her. But I find it very difficult, short of a, what's her name? Kanye West's wife on the Grammys red carpet. Short of a Bianca Censori moment, I seriously don't know what Meghan Markle is capable of in terms of making a joke out of the Invictus Games any more than she already has. The article goes on about how Harry told Invictus Games at the NATO Military Committee last year how much it meant to him for his own recovery. For his recovery from what? I'm so confused. You were Bunker Harry. I mean, maybe he saw some things, but that's his account on Spare. Other people, we all know that the main storyline, unfortunately, for Harry's time in the army is he was kept safe in a bunker. They just let him play as, toy soldier. Yay, let me put on the uniform. And he didn't even do that right. I've commented on this before. In the army, I can only speak for the army, we are sticklers for presentation. You will get punished if you have a crease on your uniform. We get inspected at morning parades. And the way that Harry put on his uniform with his pants hanging off like some kind of a 2004 rapper, if you lifted his shirt up, you could see his underwear. That's how low they were riding. And I promise you, that is not how a military uniform is worn. So if you want to get an idea of how lax Harry's situation was, just have a look at his presentation. And better yet, what about the infamous, pretty much proven story of him being allowed to leave base during a drug test? Random drug tests, which, yes, of course, I have been subjected to time and time again. It's just a joke. It's a joke. I get really fired up when it comes to the military. It means so much to me. I'm so proud of my service and wearing a uniform And to see Harry and Meghan make a mockery out of it, it really turns my stomach, I tell you. He has created extraordinary opportunities to an extraordinary number of people. They feel seen and heard and cared about. Really. Because do you know what happened when I Googled Invictus Games this morning just to make sure I'm up to date before I film, as I always do? I just saw comments about Meghan and Harry's loved up display. Or articles, rather. That's all you got. Articles about Meghan Markle's loved up display and nothing, absolutely zero coverage about the competitors themselves. And it's been this way ever since 2017. When was the last time we saw coverage of the actual games in the news, in the mainstream? As opposed to Meghan's latest wrinkly getup. I can't even remember. And I've been covering this topic for years. What a joke. What an absolute joke. But of course, this came from People magazine, so what are we to expect, right? It's actually sad because what it stands for is actually noble. And it's such a pity that Harry has allowed Meghan to destroy it so. Just as she destroyed everything else in his life, including his relationship with his own family. His own brother who loved him more than the world. And who probably still does and is deeply disappointed in him. And his father, the late Queen, his late grandfather. Everyone who loved him he let down because of her. And now this. His baby. And you can really see, apart from the lack of news coverage, which mind you, I say that if you Google Invictus, you'll see coverage about their loved up display. Even that's barely like 3 hits on Google. Seriously. The truth of the matter is, the Invictus Games and the Meghan Markle show are on the decline. No one cares. We talk about it, it's our little bubble. But outside of it, no one cares. Isn't the Super Bowl going on right now? I mean, what terrible timing for Invictus, huh? No one's tuning into them. And you can really see this exemplified when you look at the stage that they have taken in Vancouver to open the ceremony and how vastly different it is from stages of years prior. Every year it gets worse and smaller and the stadiums get emptier. Have a look at the 2022 stage. At The Hague, I believe. Look at the size of that stadium, the enormity of it, and it was packed. Never mind the Invictus era before Meghan. This is 2022. And then look at 2023. And now look at this. I hope you're proud of yourself, Harry. I mean, you don't look it. You actually don't look too happy at all. But I hope you're proud of yourself. I hope it was all worth it in the end. You know what's really funny? I guess it might be because of the lack of coverage in the news, but Meghan's actually been posting a lot of stories on Instagram. But what has she been posting, you might ask? Well, other people's incredibly young children, of course. They keep their own kids private, which I respect, if again that is their true intent. I respect that. Keep your own kids private, keep them out of the camera, but then keep other kids out of the camera too. Story after story after story. Their faces aren't blurred. They're not taking strategic photos from the back where you can barely see them. I think what's really sad is, I'm guessing these parents signed a release to Invictus. And it says, I understand, the likeness of my children will be published and used for promotional purposes, etc., on social media, on this, on that. I don't doubt they're doing it legally. But if I were a parent, I wouldn't consent. I suppose if they don't know anything about Meghan Markle, you can't blame them. They just think, oh yeah, of course, it's just promotional, official footage taken by cameras, and they're trying to promote the show, but what are kids to do with the show anyway? Unless it's, a footage of them cheering on their parent, I suppose. That's special. But for a woman like Meghan, who exploits everyone as a prop, I certainly wouldn't be signing anything. Finally, to wrap things up, I haven't made a Plutonium Show episode in a while. You can see I'm in a different location. I have things to catch up on, so forgive me if this is a little bit of old news. I know that people love to make content creators feel as though we're a newspaper and we have to be up to date every single second. Sorry, that's just not going to be realistic. However, have you heard that Justin Baldoni has launched a website this month, just last week, called thelawsuitinfo.com. So far, it's got a PDF copy of the amended complaint. I think it merges both the complaints against Blake and the New York Times, and it has another document called Timeline of Relevant Events. So now all the evidence, or at least I think all the evidence, is available for the public to go through in chronological order. It's all dated, as you can see here in the preview I'm putting up, which is very fascinating to me as a lawyer, because obviously this is not the way things are done. It's not necessarily the standard that lawyers follow. Then again, not many lawyers have very high profile clients such as these two. But I wanted to know what your thoughts were, because I've said this before in my last video on the topic when we went through Justin's lawsuit against Blake and Ryan, etc. I said it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because I was obviously following and covering the Johnny Depp cases both in the UK and the US, and Johnny's lawyer, not the one who was actively working for him on the case, Ben Chu, but Adam Waldman. He was incredibly vocal, just as vocal as Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman. And Johnny ended up having to pay for that. He was found guilty of defamation because as Johnny's agent, your lawyer is your agent, he said things that Johnny was ultimately held liable for. So it makes me wonder whether this is the best strategy for Brian Friedman to follow. I hope I'm saying his name right. I'm pretty sure his name is Brian Friedman. Yes, it is. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you like this idea of a lawyer putting out the case and litigating it in public, in the court of public opinion, rather than waiting, keeping things on the down low until they go to court? What are your thoughts? Do you prefer it? Do you think it's a bad move? Is it risky? Do you think it might backfire on Justin, just as it did with Johnny? It's not the strategy I would employ, but then again, I'm not in Brian Friedman's situation. It's a very unique situation to be in. Maybe had I been representing someone with Justin or Blake's stature, I'd follow the same playbook. I don't know. It's all very new. Benjamin Chu, who represented Johnny in the US, weighed in and said it's a very bold move. So he's being vague in terms of whether he's pro or against it. But I suppose the one thing I can think of is, at the end of the day, the jury is going to make up their mind if this goes all the way to trial, not the public. So how much good will it do? Will Blake's attorneys argue that this is tainting the jury pool and it's going to make it very difficult to find jury members who will be truly impartial and unaware of this story, because the coverage is everywhere. It's a huge case. And it does make things tricky, admittedly. So the more you fan the flames by putting information out there that is accessible to everyone, the more Blake's side will be able to argue, how are we going to find an impartial jury? The jury pool is tainted. They've already tried getting a gag order. Clearly, it either hasn't worked or it hasn't gone through yet. But this is what they're trying to stop. Now, as to why they're trying to stop it, well, I think we can all surmise, or at least connect the dots. They probably don't want certain things out there because they may not be working in their favor. Fun fact, by the way, Did you know that Brian Friedman actually once sued Justin Baldoni, representing someone else, for alleged plagiarism or copyright infringement, to be specific? Let me have a look here. Yes, copyright infringement. And Justin Baldoni ended up winning because there was no basis for the claim. But it's so interesting, actually, that his lawyer once was on the opposite side suing him. Small world. Finally, I want to end off on the joke of the week. And I really, really love this one. And that's why I saved the best for last. Trump rules out deporting Prince Harry because he's got enough problems with his wife. She's terrible. I'm not laughing right now because it's old and, old news, as in like it's been out for a couple of days and I've let out all my laughter. But boy, did I had a really good belly laugh over this. This is just incredible. Whether you're a pro-Trump or, anti-Trump individual, please keep that out of this video. Keep that out of this channel. We don't touch that topic with a 10-foot pole, but you have to admit it is hilarious, spot on. Trump has actually always been spot on about Meghan. He actually years ago told Harry, "Good luck, Harry." He just saw right through her. So I just thought it was hilarious. I love it so much. Basically, she's enough punishment. It's bad enough. I don't need to lay it on thick. And he's got enough to deal with. I mean, he isn't lying. Where's the lie, right? Where is the lie? But at least now we know that Harry's not going anywhere. I hate to be that person who says I told you so, but I said this 2 years ago when the Heritage Foundation first filed this lawsuit in 2023. And I said, this isn't going to happen. Harry's not going anywhere. And I got so much hate, so much ridicule. People love saying, "You're not a real lawyer." Every time someone disagrees with me, "You're not a real lawyer." And ironically, that person saying it is not a lawyer. So I'm just like, how are you making that educated conclusion? It confuses me. Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't make them a fake or a liar. I would have thought I attracted a more open-minded audience, and I think for the majority, for the most part, I do. But sometimes you just get those that are, outsiders, I suppose, outliers, and you get those accusations, but I told you so. All right, everyone, that's about all the time I have for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, as usual, let me know what you think, whether it's you think I'm a fake lawyer or whether you have actual constructive comments to leave behind. I read them all, or most of them. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.